All right, call to order. We have a roll call
Tom Duffy, Stacy Heschel.
Here.
John Righeimer,
here.
Brian Bissonette.
Here.
Chris Rusk. 3 out of 5.
All right, we have a quorum. All right, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here we have a meeting agenda.
This meeting is
Oh.
proposed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you.
You bet.
Everybody have the agenda? Have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Bear with me, this is the first time chairing this meeting, so public comments at this time, members of the public will be given the opportunity to address the committee on items not on the agenda. Please adhere to the following when addressing the committee. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes or less per individual. Comments should be directed to the committee as a whole and not directed to an individual committee member. The committee cannot respond to your comments during this time. Please sign in and fill out the public comment sheet if you wish to speak on an item. Do we have anybody here for public comments?
One sheet, I think, Mike, is there one up in there in the corner?
Oh, Linda Zelmer.
Linda Zoller, 902 Hollywood Lane, Virtue, Wisconsin, Edgewater property tax owner. I have 2 items for public comment this morning. One of them, first of all, is an opportunity. The Wisconsin Newspaper Association is holding its 2nd annual essay and essay, kind of like a political cartoon contest. And submissions are due later in October. I forwarded a copy of the email to Lori in extension here, and maybe I'll forward one to Andy to get out. But I think in prior years, I have tried to make contact to each of the schools in our 5-county region, high schools primarily, to enter the Wisconsin Civics Contest, which was held first in 2019 in the spring and was held this year in the spring. I've attended both those, and will be held again in 2023. So that's another opportunity for schools or youth and 4-H to participate in Wisconsin civics games. That requires a lot more preparation. And the second thing, I'd like to make a request for a future agenda item. And I've talked with Lori at Extension about pulling together what are the 5 counties in her area doing to provide programming for support of families and youth. A lot of it is mental health directed now, but some of it has been in the past on drug and alcohol awareness. So that Sawyer County is aware of what's going on for programming in other counties and maybe share some good practices. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's all for public comments. Do we have any questions or comments on the minutes or a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That's approved. Next item is Sawyer County Agricultural Fair Association report. Anybody here for that?
Nobody's here for that. But,
Usually not, right?
well, I think his work schedule changed, the president,
Right.
so he's not able to attend. I did ask that they send a report via email if they're not able to attend, but I don't know that they had. Okay.
Okay, thank you. University of Wisconsin Extension Department report.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I have one lucky person is gonna get a color copy. I don't know who's gonna get.
Well, that'd be me.
it. So I'll send them around. If you want.
Is it different than the one up there, Lori?
Yep.
Okay, it's different.
So it's the thing, sorry. So I wasn't sure if I'm gonna be able to get into the packet or not. Just some technical difficulties on our end. So feel free to take a look at that. I'll just highlight a couple things for you from that.
Thanks.
Coming up for us, since we received grant funds through USDA, and if we have an internal civil rights review that happens every 5 years or so. It has been since 2015 for Sawyer County. So because of COVID, it got bumped back a little bit, but our educators are in the process of really making sure all the documentation is there to prove that we are doing our part to reach all audiences. So it's just an internal review for us to have more of a discussion if there are other outreach opportunities that we have. And so we are doing that. They will be in our area 2 at the end of October. And so I just wanted you to know we're working on all of that. I also have a flyer from Ariga this morning, who is doing a Real Colors workshop for county employees. I'm sure anyone around the table is welcome to attend as well. If it's something that we want to provide for the general public, we can work on doing that as well. We've done it in other areas. We did it for Washburn County Leaders group just a month ago. So it's just another program that we offer. It is a new 4-H year, as Donna will attest. It's a busy time of the year for 4-H. And so we'll see how many folks we get registered and new programming happens in the 4-H area. And that's really all I wanted to provide you this morning. And just a comment, I'm happy to provide you with more information about what other programs are happening in at least area 2 in my 5 counties of programming that could help Sawyer County too. If that's something that Linda mentioned, if it's something that you want on the agenda for next time, I'm happy to give you an overview of some other programming that's happening. Some of that programming we're able to offer virtually, which then anyone across the state has an opportunity to attend. I will say there is discussion among counties of, if I'm paying for an educator, but you're using my educator, what am I getting? So I'm always careful about all of that, but we also want to make sure that our classes are full. So if there are opportunities for other people outside of a county area to be involved, we're happy to entertain those registrations, I guess. So and bigger, if you want to just know more about what Extension's doing for youth mental health and first aid and youth and family programming, I'm happy to provide that kind of information. So some of it in the report, there's a section at the very end of just some other things that Extension's doing to support Sawyer County. There are a couple items in there, but I would just draw your attention to Parents Forever class is one of those. So divorcing parents, I think I've talked about that in the past. So people can sign up and go to that. The Connecting Children and Parents and the Justice Involved Families, that's the work that we're doing over in the jail. There's a little hiccup with that right now with some jail turnover of the contact and getting that program back in place. But there are a few things that happen here in Sawyer County that your local educators aren't doing that are services that we're providing. So questions?
I see the Spider Lake thing here. Can you add some comments to that, how that went?
Yeah, so Spider Lake had contacted the local government center about providing just kind of unbiased facilitation. Because that's what Extension does. And so the local government center, Carl of the local government center, reached out to Sawyer County and Ariga in particular and said, hey, we have this request. Is that something that you want to do? Ariga was not in town for the first one. And so Carl came up and I did it with him too. But I think they were wanting to make sure that all voices were heard and that it was run in kind of a smooth way. And they did a really nice job of setting it up for success and registering for public comment and timing all of that. And it was available through Zoom or in person. And everyone had an opportunity to say what was important to them and things that they really wanted the town board to be familiar with and maybe make some decisions on. So I think there was some concern that it was going to be all talk about ATV trails because
It's a big issue there.
that's what happens sometimes. But it really wasn't. It really was a nice opportunity for people to talk about no wake zones, ATV trails, just everything.
So you were at that meeting or?
Yeah, I was at 2 of the.
Because I
3
think there
meetings.
seems to be a lack of trust between maybe the board and some of the townspeople. So hopefully that helped bridge it a little bit.
I think so. They have a pretty nice website. I tried to take a peek on the website to see if they had posted all the ideas that came out. It's probably there somewhere. I didn't spend a whole lot of time digging through it. But I know that if it's not there, that's their goal, is to post that so that people know all the issues that were brought forward and what they're kind of trying to navigate through.
Good.
So, yeah, it was they did 3 different sessions. I think they had 2.5 hours, if I remember right, per session, 1 a month for 3 different months. And so.
And many citizens attended.
Yeah, I think there was maybe 50 or so. I don't remember.
Great.
Yeah. And throughout the 3 times. So it was a good opportunity, I think, for them to utilize extension services, again, providing that non-bias, hey, we're just here to make sure that everybody gets a voice if they want a voice, and kind of the process of things. And so it's a good time for us to be involved. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Lori, the Real Colors and the grant writing workshop, are those virtual or where will those be held?
The Real Colors, well, Rita sent me this flyer late last night, so I think that that's here. It might be in this. It might be in this room, so I'll ask about that. We have done Real Colors virtually before. It's a little trickier to do. Either all virtual or all in person. It's really difficult to do it both, to get everybody in their right groups and having conversations. So I'll ask Rika exactly about where that's going to happen. The grant writing class, she is working on another flyer and working with some people across the state to offer that one, because sometimes when she's offered it just with her locally, there haven't been enough people signed up. And then if there are only a couple people signed up, then she'll end up working individually with them. And so we're hoping that if there's something offered across the state, that we'll have some more opportunity to keep offering it. So I know that she and a few other community development people are working on that one. So we'll make sure that she gets to it.
Okay, thanks.
And do they get workbooks for this workshop? Is that what the $18 goes for?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a workbook and the prices just went up. They were like $10 and then I think they're 12 and then other resources too. So yeah, and it's not something that we typically make much money on because it goes back into copying and supplies for us. So
It's in the assembly room on the 15th.
thank you.
And one
Andy,
other thing, on just to draw your attention to something on the front of the extension report. I don't know how much this has been discussed in prior years here, but Sawyer County is part of the Heart of the North legislative group. So annually there's a trip to Madison. It's Washburn, Sawyer, Barron, and Rusk counties. And so it's the whole busload of people down in Madison. You know, historically, I was in Rusk, we didn't have a ton of participation. I usually went, and I'm not sure that Sawyer had much more than we did. Chris Ruckstash.
but well, it's virtual last year,
Okay,
but this year they're planning to go. And then I'm actually a chair of one of the committees.
you are, perfect. I was just gonna encourage, I know, we always made sure to send some youth, and I think that's what Don is working on. I think that's really important. That actually led to us, other counties having, I think Washburn County and Russ now both have youth on the county board, or youth seats on the board, which was helpful just to get, perspective from the youth, but just a little more involvement in the schools. But when is the trip to Madison still February, March timeframe?
Yes, I think it's scheduled for February 3rd. Ken's on here, he might correct me.
That is correct. The first Thursday of February of 2023.
Is the issue list being developed right now, or is that already done?
We're having a meeting in October.
Yeah, our applications are open now for you.
For you, okay.
Mhm.
How about the platform that what are
That's
the rumbles?
that's ongoing. That we're just getting together as a full delegation to start the whole process.
So the idea is if we have legislative issues at state level that we want to address, to try to get them into Heart of the North. And
Correct.
legislators and the departments.
So I'm just on education. I don't necessarily think I'm a chair, but I believe Monica Johnson, she's our new president for economic, Sawyer County LCO Economic Development, and she may chair the economic development part of it. So there'll be a lot of Sawyer County representation, I feel.
Good deal.
And Donna is helping with the whole.
Just
organization of it, right?
Just the you, no, just
Yeah,
the
just the
you
youth
recruiting.
Sure, sure.
Which is gonna be.
Thanks, Amy.
Anything else?
As I say, the best year might have been the year we sent the youth actually presented the issues to legislators,
Mhm.
because legislators can't ignore
Mhm.
presenting it with all the adults standing around. So
It's a tactic.
it was.
You tend to not get. okay to
All right,
taxes.
Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau.
Sherry, so her report is just online. We had a meeting last month and just talked about the positives for the Hayward Lakes, what they're doing, the members involved and everybody. There's a huge group and then they just spoke. But Sherry said she's apologetic. She's out sick today.
Is this an off season? Is there ever an off? There is kind of an off season, right?
There's never.
Until
an
snow?
off-season.
No.
No, There's
Well, ATV, so there is never an off
There's
season.
never an off season.
Okay.
And we're out, they're always promoting the Hayward area, so there's never an off season for Hayward.
Oh, good point. Yeah, for vacations
Or
even
Sawyer
next year. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Northwest Regional Planning Commission report.
Good morning, everyone. Sheldon sends his regards. I believe he's coming back from Colorado from a well-deserved family vacation. So he asked me to fill in for regional planning this morning. I'm Ken Pearson, Loan Fund Manager for Northwest Regional Planning on the commercial lending side. I do have a few things to report. First of all, thank you, Donna and Andy for talking, and Stacy for talking about Heart of the North. That was going to be one of my topic issues. I'm the chair for Heart of the North. I was the chair last year and this year. In the past, historically, it had been Dave Armstrong, but then Dave became assembly for, I believe, the 75th district. So he was ineligible to chair a legislative advocacy group. So I stepped up. Yeah, Donna and Andy, Stacy, I'll hit it on the head. We've been through significant changes in the last 2 years in terms of how we run the organization. We built in a little more structure to it. What we've done is we've have chairs and co-chairs kind of lead the planning portion of the event. And then we have one delegation meeting that introduces the chairs, co-chairs, and then kind of breaks down into the different topic cluster groups, which usually focus on education, economic development, natural resources, tourism, transportation, and public health. And as you can imagine, the last 3-4 years, all those have been very significant in terms of bringing our voice and our issues to Madison. The last 2 years have been virtual, but we're hoping to get back in person this year because it just has a different impact on being in person versus virtually. So that's a great opportunity. It's always open, and we're always open recruiting for adult membership or adult delegates. We do have a selective application process for students for various reasons. But certainly we want the students who do show up and are chosen are top notch and they lead the way. Last year we had a handful from Hayward, Sawyer County. We had quite a few from Washburn and Barron and a couple from Rusk, and they just bring in such great insight. We had one high school junior for 2 years in a row. He was junior and senior, talk about TIDs and TIFs to legislators. And I don't even think I could talk to TIDs and TIFs to legislators, and he did a phenomenal job. We had another lady, young student from Barron, the school district of Barron. She was from Kenya, and she talked about her hardship of moving to the United States with her family, and just what that meant, the impact of having affordable housing and economic opportunity for everyone. So that was really, really impressive and a moving testament to her story. So we have a lot of great opportunities in one of those 5 different topic clusters. And if you're interested in joining, certainly Donna, Stacy, Andy, you could contact them. You could connect to me, or you can just connect to me directly. kpearson@nwrpc.com. I'm on the email thread as well. So it's just a wonderful opportunity, and I'm looking forward to meeting Monica. Thank you, Stacy, for that connection. Chris Ruckdashel's done a great job on the tourism side for many years. He and I started on Heart of the North, I think the same year, about 5-6 years ago. And yeah, it's just always great to have Sawyer County representation. And as a result of early Heart of the North planning, a collaboration between Heart of the North, Northwest Regional Planning, the LCO Tribal Nation, Washburn County, Sawyer County, and Russ County, were able to come together with all the county highway commissioners and submit a Safer Streets for All grant application to start the planning process. That was spearheaded by Eric Howell out of the Northwest Regional Planning Commission staff, using the Heart of the North regions. Barron County decided not to be part, but that's okay. And it turned into coming together as a collaboration to apply for grant funding to receive money to do a Safer Streets like analysis. If we have a Safer Streets plans for each of the counties and the tribal nations, then that opens you up for more money from the federal government to apply for actual safe street grants to improve street improvements, safety improvements, things of that nature. So it was a really cool collaboration. Eric did a great job spearheading it. And as a result, the LCO Nation is now actually the lead agency on this application. They decided to take the lead on it, but it's a collaborative effort of all 3 counties and the tribal nation. So it's an awesome example of what collaboration of Heart of the North and all of our entities working together can do. But that's enough about Heart of the North. As far as Northwest Regional Planning Commission, the Main Street Bounce Back program is still going strong. So if you know of any businesses that have moved into a vacant location that's 400 square feet or bigger, and the business is operating, they can apply for the Bounce Back grant through nwrpc.com. And if not, we can connect them with the right websites. But we usually, if you type in Bounce Back, WEDC, we're the top website that comes up anyway. We're fielding calls from Milwaukee, Madison, Wisconsin Dells, across. We get a lot of inquiries on it. We have good placement on the website, but it's not always beneficial when you're just trying to monitor a 10-county region. But it's a great program, $10,000 of grant funding. It's had huge impact on the area already. And we're looking forward to continuing the program through the end of this year. So if you know of a business who hasn't received it yet, who would qualify for it, please have them read the website, follow the instructions, and submit a full application. It's a very simple application. If they just follow the 4 things needed on the website, they should have no problems with that. Otherwise, as far as the economic development side, I've talked to 134 different individuals from across our 10-county regions from the beginning of January to December. Usually I talk to about 80 to 90. So small business development is definitely on everybody's mind. People are really excited to become entrepreneurs now. They're really excited to want to start their own small businesses, which I think is good for our areas. And people have a lot of questions, so that's great. We're able to connect them with the resources. I'm glad that Monica has stepped on board now for Sawyer County and LCO. We have relied heavily upon your past directors to send us referrals or ask questions, comments, whatever, to help the small businesses in the area. So having a lead person certainly makes a great impact on the efforts. Out of those 134 that I've talked to, 14 inquiries have come from Sawyer County. So about a 10th, which makes sense, 10 counties. But certainly we'd like to see that being more in the future, as it has been. And finally, Andy, I believe I want to thank Andy too. He's been nominated to hold the loan committee chair for one of my new RED programs, the Northwest Wisconsin Regional Economic Development Fund, as a representative for Sawyer County. So hopefully the board passes your nomination, Andy, and we can get you on board.
Yeah, that'd be good. served on there for a while.
Yep. Yeah, Andy was one of the founding committee members, loan committee members back when the loan program consolidated. So it'll be good to have him as approved back on board because Sawyer County certainly needs representation and Andy will do a fantastic job.
What kind of businesses are those 14 are being started? They service businesses, retail businesses?
Good question. Let me pull up the inquiry sheet again. Just give me, a lot of them are retail service based, but a few of them were like small, light industrial manufacturer, machine shop type businesses. We work with all sorts of different businesses. So let's see, a couple campgrounds, a salon, Winter Library being one of them, who did receive an award to help them with some flooding remediation. Yeah, just kind of all over the place. An equine, someone who wanted to start an equine center, a couple small manufacturers. So yeah, they're kind of all over the place in terms of.
What's the equine center?
Yeah, it's a
Horse barn or?
yeah, kind of a horse farm, but with the training application. So it's kind of a boarding center for horses, as well as a training center, and a place for them to run around and recreate and, just do their horse things. I'm not much of a horse person. I like horses.
My wife is. I'm not either. So my ears always perk up.
Yeah, it's a place for, there's a lot of second homeowners who come up here. They love horses. They have horses. They don't have a place to board them. So that would be one option. The entrepreneur was also studied equine specialist. So she's very good with handling horses and training horses. She did like barrel racing and PCRA type stuff through a community college in Iowa. So I know she was working with a bank on trying to buy some land, and I gave her some pointers. We were interested in helping her financially, but my guess is she was able to get it done through a bank. So just be aware that there might be another equine training boarding place coming, hopefully in the near future. I got to follow up with her yet to see where she's at in the process, but
If you could get the name of the place when it's complete.
when it's open,
Yes.
yep, I
Thank
can
you.
certainly do that when it's open and available.
Awesome. Anything else? All
Thank
good?
you.
Well, thank you very much for your time and report. Next, Economic Development Corporation report.
Good morning.
Monica, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I should have said, so I was just elected president of the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation at September's meeting, and wanted to come here and introduce myself and meet you all and talk a little bit about what we see, a little bit about our plans for the coming couple of years. I'm really happy and excited to introduce Kate Bardot as well. She has been brought on as our executive director, which we haven't had for a couple of years. So we're excited to have someone really working behind the scenes as part of the team, making sure that locals have the ear of the Economic Development Corporation and liaison between Northwest Regional Planning and other entities throughout the county. So really excited about that. Our annual report we did just release. Want to take a moment to thank Jessica Wagner Schultz for all that she's done in the past few years to keep the EDC up and running without an executive director kind of taking all that on herself. But we look forward to presenting to you as we get further along in our plans. We intend to really work on workforce development, workforce readiness with our youth. Obviously, housing is one of those issues that we consider to be at the forefront of what our county is dealing with, as well as just retaining our current workforce and recruiting qualified workforce to our county, because we know we have the quality of life piece of it, just missing some housing and some other things. So we look forward to working with you, the county, and filling in the gaps where we can.
Excellent. Thank you.
like your short and sweet report. Thank you. We're used to the really long one from.
I'm sure they'll get longer as time goes, right? Library updates.
Start. I'm Molly Lang Jones. I'm the director from the Sherman and Group Wise Community Library. And I passed out an update on the director's report. And one thing I'd like to address first is the first article in my report. I made it's an understandable faux pas considering the language that was used, but last year at the very end of the budget hearings, a couple came forward and offered $10,000 if the Sawyer County Board would vote to not remove the whole $20,000 that they had been discussing. And the language that they used made me think that this was going to happen every year. And unfortunately, I found out it is not, that they wanted to give it last year as an example. So I'm going to write a fundraising letter and do everything I can in my power to come up with this $10,000. And I have to do it quickly because the Hayward Library Foundation sends out their annual fundraising campaign letter, and I don't want crossover. It's during Thanksgiving. So I'll be working on that. Good thing is our library was chosen for a state parks pilot program, which means eventually everyone in Wisconsin who holds a library card will be able to check out free passes for a day at all the state parks. So this will be interesting, being on the development of that. We're saving some money. Northern Waters this year again is going to provide our annual conference fees and hotel. And I think they're kicking in meals this year too. If you stay right there, and take classes over your lunch hour. That saves several $1,000s because, let me go back really quick. We also unfortunately lost a donor who has given us $15,000 every year since late 1990s. So kind of getting hit hard right before budget time. Also, I kind of wish Sherry Beckling was here today because I was going to ask her. I had discovered in May that there's a Google business profile that's free on the web. And I entered all our library's information. And it's really interesting because it shows who's searching for our library. And it also indicates, how much more it happens during the summer months. So to me, these statistics just indicate that we are definitely providing services that our summer visitors want to need, Wi-Fi being one of the top ones. And under library activities, I did want to point out too, Donna and I talked about the various webinars that we need to do for our continuing education, which is really similar to teachers being recertified. And that actually is our meeting room calendar. And I just wanted to exemplify what types of groups use the meeting room. And it's free to nonprofits, but we do have a charge of $20 every 4 hours, which I think is a pretty big deal because there aren't too many places in the area who provide that space. What else? So I'm gonna point.
Can we interrupt with a question? It might be pertinent to that point.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just wondering, on the report, do you have data on how many Sawyer County residents use the library?
Yes, I actually do. I was gonna get to that. And
I don't see it in here.
It
It just has the election information, but it doesn't have like what your data.
this is just a guide that Northern Waters prepared for us to help people before it's time to vote.
Oh, so you have it, but you didn't, yeah, I thought you were meaning it was in one of those, sorry. Yeah, I am gonna provide that, I think, at the next finance committee meeting Thursday. Yeah, but, so you don't have that information? I have an example. I'll let you know. Okay. All right. This is just something that I thought would be really helpful for the public, considering a lot of people ask us for information at the very last minute about candidates and all that. So we're providing this for free at our libraries. And what I do have for circulation statistics from January through September of 2021, it's kind of interesting. It's broken down by townships and counties, but the total number of circs for January through September 2021 was at 36,580. We went way down in the past, because of the pandemic. And as of this September, it went up to 49,691. So people really are coming back, which we're very happy about. The more people reach, the better services we supply. And I think that is it. So that's not how many you're servicing, that's just how many books are kept out. But I can get all of those statistics in our report. That'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Winter.
All right, so I had turned in my director's report and I have copies here if you want to look at it. I just included a calendar of events, something that's exciting. You know, we've talked about libraries searching out grants, and some of our grants, a lot of our grants don't offer monetary funds to the library, but they offer programs. And one of the ones that's starting today is the Wisconsin Science Festival. And so we had to fill out an application form to get our library involved as a host event. And so we received 25 science STEM kits that families can come and pick up at the library for free. And they keep that themselves. And so they can participate that way. So it's offering services. Something else that we've recently acquired were 2 hotspots at the library. And right now it's covered under a grant. And there again, if we did the hotspots, it would cost us money, but it's provided for free right now. That way that people who aren't able to have internet service or reliable internet service can utilize and check out these hotspots. So right now we're working on policies. My board has to approve policy at our next board meeting in November to get them released, but we do have them physically in our hands. They're ready to go. We just have to work through the policy work on that. I did want to talk about my budget real quick because I did ask for a 3% increase from funding from the county, which was a $2,788 increase. Overall, my budget increase was 6%, but we're trying to create fundraising and other opportunities to get that extra 3% into our library on our own. I do municipality visits. So right now I'm meeting with 7 different municipalities to share our library services with them. We've added a couple more fundraisers. I know that Ken said that we were awarded $26,000 for our basement project. It is a 0% interest award. We don't have to repay that, but we don't want that lien on our building, which is what it is right now, which is why we have added the extra fundraising and increased our budget a little bit. The other part of our budget is that we have had, because of our basement issues, added expenses that we didn't acquire. So we had to take from other line items to pay for the other expenses. So, and then of course, costs of products are going up and services are being utilized. I don't have how many I service, but I have 7 municipalities that I service in my library because I'm a joint library. So.
You use the Library of Congress free book program. They'll send you free books. The Library of Congress does.
I've had Library of Congress when I've done it through WISCAT. So if there's a patron who is looking for a book, we can't supply it here in Wisconsin or any other library. I've actually had books sent from Library of Congress and they can look at the books in the library. They can't take them home because of the specialty of that. But if maybe that's not the program you're talking about.
They just, if you look at the Library of Congress, they have different programs set up.
Sure.
So,
No, I can look into that. Yeah.
Thank you. Next is motorized trail and non-motorized trail report.
Hi, for once I sent a report ahead of time, so, I'll just briefly go over, a lot of traffic again on the trails. In fact, I was working on the trails over this last weekend in the Sealy Hills. And it was just constant. I can't believe how many people are actually here utilizing the trail system. On weekends, I'm still seeing a lot of families with their dogs and the machines, which just baffles me how that works for them, but they are.
You don't
out
walk
there.
the dog, you drive the dog.
Yeah, they're out there. It's amazing. Fall is a very popular time to ride because it's cooler and of course the scenery up here is just absolutely beautiful. So that's part of it. We did purchase three additional traffic counters and I have those installed as of now, but I don't have data on them yet. I just put those up about 2 weeks ago. So I'll check those and we'll have some stats for the next meeting. But I did include a printout of our the current counters that I have out there or had out there. We only had 3, so I had to move them around just to capture data on different trail systems. Hopefully with 6 total counters now, we can leave them up longer, collect more accurate data on the trails. I plan to use that for a variety of uses. One, it'll be a component in our economic impact report that we plan to put together on motorized sports, and the other is we'll use that data on specific trails for grants for rehab and things like that, so that we can prove to we're asking for grants that the trail is heavily used and we need the money for it. So I'm excited to have those traffic counters. And then the last thing, snowmobile clubs are getting ready for the upcoming season. We've been out working on the trails, re-signing, doing a lot of brushing work, setting up events for the winter. Sawyer County Alliance has a mascot. It's like a abominable snowman called Sawyer. And he goes on ATV rides, he goes on snowmobile rides, he goes to different establishments, he raises money for our trail system. If you take your picture with him, you get put into a drawing at the end of each motorized season. And then you get a gift certificate. People donate money when they see him. And just recently, Jesse Regland, president of North Country Riders, he had him out on a trail workday with us. And he made $600 just that day. People would run into him, and it's such a novelty to see that in a machine. You know, people start talking and we tell them who we are and, hey, do you want to donate towards our trail system? And it works. So we're excited about that. He'll be busy all winter. And we have an upcoming public works meeting for the ATV ordinance that I just wanted to mention. We are hopeful things will turn out well, and that's about it. Well,
Anything to add to that? I mean, how, that is, so you're expecting good things out of that?
Well, I hope so. I mean, all I can do is.
My radar goes up, but I may be overreacting. I mean, it looks to be, I mean, such a positive economic impact that.
Right, well, I'm hoping that they realize the economic impact of the motorized sports and what we bring to this area, and we like things, an ordinance that, to me, there's 2 components to the ordinance. First, it directs us on how to ask for a route on a county road, and the other component is stating that riders have to follow Wisconsin state law. Well, to me, I'd like that first part to be as less restrictive as possible so that we can open routes as needed, as people request them. And we'll see what happens.
Will the economic report be done before the public works?
No, because a huge component of that report is something I'm working on through NORTAC. And it's going to be a survey, a multi-county survey that we haven't started yet. We're the committee I'm on within that organization is working on that right now. And it's probably going to take us at least through winter to launch it and gather data. So it's gonna be a while before we can come up.
And the
with an
public
actual
works thing will
report.
be done when?
Well, it's starting on October 12th.
Yeah, I'd say in a couple months. It depends how fast the board, I mean, where we're at is we had put a draft together, gave it to the committee and then sent it out to the Alliance, the towns and LCO for feedback. And we've gotten quite a bit of feedback. The Alliance gave us their thoughts. Some of the towns did. And Gary and I, permanent Gary, took that feedback and put it in, updated the ordinance. So there's a new draft.
Was it all positive feedback or was there any negative?
There, I mean, as far as, I got some of it, Gary got most of it. There were some negative, if you want to call it negative. I don't think there was any in there that said, well, no, there was probably a couple that said no ATVs on roads. But I think for the most part, it was just feedback on, what some of the things Kathy said there. If I saw some negative, it was not understanding state laws for ATVs.
Hmm.
Like that kids, I mean, that's kind of kids in helmets in that area. There was some, not having kids without driver's licenses on the road, but state law, I don't know the verbatim, but state law allows young people with ATV safety classes to operate an ATV on roads
All right,
and on trails. So a lot of that's updated,
misunderstanding of the law.
yeah, and I think, it might not make sense, but that's what the law is. So a lot of the updates the Alliance recommended was basically language, was putting the state, reference to state law in the ordinance. I think there's probably gonna be there's gonna be discussion points. It's gonna be timing of approvals for.
So when it is complete, like you'll have an opinion on it, positive or minus, right? I mean, we hope it's gonna be, we hope, I'll say, you hope that you're gonna be happy about it. If you're not,
Right,
you'll say so, right?
Well, we are all volunteers and we represent all the people within the entire county that are asking for routes. So whether it's a business or a tax-paying individual, we work on their behalf to open a route. And so we follow the process that the county lays out to do that, and we're hoping that that process is not unduly restricted.
Right.
That's what we're hoping for, because we are representing all the taxpayers in this county and we're doing it. We're all volunteers, so.
Well, and it can't be helped. It's unfortunate that the economic report won't be done in time, but that's
Oh, I know.
nobody's fault. But
you know, we
I guess-
needed it a few years ago.
some of it's intuitive, but I guess if you had a hard number, I think it might
Right,
only help the cause. So.
But the counters really help to see how many people are using the
Yeah.
trail. And
yes.
Can you remind the committee and for the new people, how are you funded? You're just funded on grants and donations, correct? You're not county funded.
We are not county funded. Our funding to actually work on the trails, we hold a contract to maintain the trails through the county forest. And the snowmobile trails throughout the county and as well as the ATV trails. We put in for a grant amount. I'm not deeply involved with that portion of it, but we receive, the money comes to the county, and then as we work off that money in the way of grooming operations, working on the trails, we get reimbursed for that. And we use that money to maintain the equipment. We own all the equipment. And it pays for our gas, our oils, all repair of the equipment and everything. So that's where that comes from. We receive no money from anyone else for all the other work that we do. So route signs are not included. We can get funding for trail signage through the DNR. That's approved, but we can't get route signage. So when somebody requests a route, we ask the requester to pay for that. And it's a burdensome thing to do, when you're asking, somebody just wants to access from their house and it's going to cost, several $100s for signage. We don't have funding for that because we're a nonprofit. We do fundraisers once in a while to try and get money and have that available for people that can't pay for it. But yeah, ultimately we have to ask for businesses to pay for it or the requester. So it's.
I think what your group does is very commendable because it's in essence self-supported and there's such a benefit, I think, to the county from it. So thank you for what you do. Keep it
Right.
up and hopefully everything comes out as well as it can be. Andy,
I'm gonna help Kathy out and put the ask on into what she just explained. So in the ordinance, for the most part, the ordinance is taking what was already established for resolution for how to approve a route and putting it into ordinance form. One of the comments though from the Trail Alliance is in regards to signage. In the ordinance, you'll see that it says that we want the county highway department to do the sign installation. And, it's probably from a safety factor to have the crew out there working, and also from making sure the signs are installed appropriately. But it expects the Alliance to pay for the signage and installation. So the Alliance has asked the county, or has put in their comments, they would, because of what she just explained, to not have to bear that cost.
gotcha.
So does then that comes out of the forestry?
Right now,
Budget?
well, we'd have to decide where it would come from. Right now, we don't incur those costs. They come from the Alliance as part of their trail. And that stays the same, that all requests for routes will come through the Alliance. That's part of their request that they would, but we'd have to discuss how to fund that.
Okay.
Because like she said, when there's a trail, you get that funding through the DNR because there's permit money that comes back. Routes are unfunded though. There's no DNR money that comes back to the county for those.
Right.
Maybe I have some brand new sources that I will send you if it looks like anything would.
I will get anything I can. Yes, I've been kind of a pest with reaching out to people.
I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. I'm trying. It's, the way I look at it, we do all this work, but it's Sawyer County that is benefiting from all the work that we do. And therefore, I came into this kind of late this year, but next year I'd like to be more involved in going to the finance meetings and see if there's a way that we can get a budget line for some of these ATV route signs, because they're directly making money for.
Well, that
for
economic
this
impact
county.
report will be, I think, huge, leading towards discussions like that.
Right, right.
Speaking of it, so do we help with the silent sport? There's no funding for silent sports, that's just,
Not that I'm aware of, unless it comes out of the forestry department.
Access to county forest land.
well, I
Bizarre.
think, but there is I thought that there was trail, you had to buy trail permits, and I didn't know if that was, like you said, through the forest, but
Yeah,
that's what I
I'd
was
have to ask.
That goes right to Berkey, doesn't it?
Yeah,
But the county,
keeps
A lot of the trail is on county land, correct?
The gas excise tax that we pay gets put into a federal program, and that's reimbursed to each state, and that's where some of the funding comes from. So the motorized sports technically pay for the non-motorized trails is how it works. 30% of that money that gets reimbursed from the federal government to the state of Wisconsin through the DNR, which filters down to the motorized and non-motorized trails. 30% of that money goes for non-motorized trails, 30% goes for motorized trails, 40% goes to dual use trails. So our sports are funding the non-motorized trails as well.
that's what I assumed, I just was wondering how that was set up.
Usually there's no historical society. There's usually no report for that,
There's
correct?
still a historical society available.
They're boycotting.
No, they are not boycotting, but like I was asking Andy, I said, why would they give a report if the Sawyer County is not funding them any longer? So what I asked as a request was to find out when Sawyer County stopped funding the Sawyer County Historical Society. Because if we're not funding them, I mean, that's very polite of them to come and give a report, but that'd be like asking a business in town to come give a report on their economics. But
Right.
I do think that it warrants looking into to see why we stopped funding it, if they're debt free and just paying for utilities, so then they can run off donations. But I think without that piece,
That's a good point.
that, I mean, I think that they're getting a new board, there's a lot of people stepping up. And we should probably keep that on the agenda, but figure out why we have it on the agenda.
Understood. 2023 budget update. discussion and possible action. Andy, is that you?
I guess in part and in part, Mike, it's on the agenda because at the, can't remember if it was the admin or finance committee agenda, finance committee last month. They asked to make sure that the budget was on every committee agenda for
Okay.
the committees and departments to be aware of their budgets. What's in the budget for them? I'll jump over.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of change from last year, other than the one thing is the Lakes Association. I know we ended up giving them 50,000, but 10 came from the general, 40 came from ARPA. So that is an increase for this year. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same. We understand and value what these organizations bring to the county, the economic impact they have, the revenue they generate. So, administration did not adjust the requests. So,
Maybe just, I've got the spreadsheet that Mike prepared up in front of me. Maybe the outside organizations aren't aware, but so in the Hayward Weiss Community Library, we budgeted 200,000, which is $10,000 less than they requested. Winter is 78,253, which is what they requested. That's an increase, as Donna said, of 3.69%. LCO is 20,046, which is an increase of 1,075. The Ottawa County libraries, we essentially reimburse the actual usage to those libraries. That's gone down by 2,580 to 17,849. Senior Resource Center, we have 200,000, which is an increase of 15,111, but is 26,000 less than they asked for. Namacoggin Transit is 155. It's a $5,000 increase, but 20,000 less than they requested. Hayward Lakes, we have in for 50,000. Northwest Regional Planning is 35,387, increase of $343. Surrey County Fair, 47,000, which is a $2,000 increase, 3,000 less than they requested. And Surrey County LCO Economic Development Corp is 25, which is what the request was and is what the prior year funding was as well.
Anything else in that? Good. Questions?
On the Surrey County Fair, who maintains the buildings out there?
They do.
They do, that's why that money is available, is for maintenance, or they get a portion of that, correct?
yeah, they have a dual request. There's 35,000 just for operating, and then typically it's been 10,000 for capital. I believe they increased the request this year. But I think the last 3 years they haven't turned in anything for the capital. So we've really just given them 35.
They operate and maintain it.
I assume that they did just from when I was on the board a long time ago, but I just wanted to make sure that was still done.
Any future agenda items?
I think it's just really good that we have the group that we do for such a small community. It's just exciting to come to these meetings and hear what everybody's doing and how it's impacting Surrey County in a positive economic way. So I'd like to see more of that. How are we investing in Surrey County and getting back in that investment, not necessarily, just giving money away and not having an impact in a positive manner.
Maybe be part of the housing solution someday. Any chance I get. Any correspondence or reports from conferences or other meetings that would be pertinent? Well, with that then, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.